What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Technician Podcast. This is season 10. Can't remember what episode it is, but I know it's going to be a fucking great episode.
Season
I've got my
10.
man. Yeah, bro.
Wow.
We're like 106 episodes in or something like that.
Absolute vet.
Yeah, and that beautiful voice you hear on the other end is my man, Drew Wild. How are you, brother?
Mate, I'm ecstatic. I'm great.
The vibes
I'm
are
happy
high,
to be here, right?
I usually love to leave it up to my guests to just say who you are and what you do. I've got that vibe. I already know who you are and what you do, but I'd love you to just in this moment, knowing the conversations we've already had before this podcast started, who are you now, bro? Because I know you've also had a bit of an identity shift lately too.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. Hey, this is probably the first potty I've been on since, I say rebrand, it's a shit word. I hate that word, but I've gone through a massive identity shift in myself. And so my work's just an extension of me. And so therefore my work has shifted as well. So prior to, if you asked me maybe a couple of weeks ago, I would have said I'm an addiction specialist or a trauma specialist. For me, they're the same thing. If you understand addiction, you understand trauma. If you understand trauma, you understand addiction. So that would have been my prior identity for probably the last 6 years. Was really, clear focus and clear drivers and clear why around changing the narrative of addiction. Now, I guess and it's just a shift. It's more of an outward facing shift because what I've always been doing behind the scenes and what I'm very good at doing behind the scenes is it's really hard for me not to see the greatest in everybody that I cross paths with. It's really hard for me not to see people in their highest and to hold that bar there and to give them the tools and the systems and help them, chip away at the conditioned crust that is ultimately cock blocking them from their own greatness. And even when I've been working with, my addiction-based, I'm doing a little hyphenated fucking air quotes here, addiction-based clients, working on the coping mechanism or the substance, that would be like a week. And then the rest is, peeling back the layers of who actually are you underneath all of this? So that's, something I guess I'm really, really, really passionate about is helping people realize what they're actually capable of and who they are underneath that conditioned crust that life has led them to believe they are versus what they actually are. I guess a framework I've kind of been playing with a lot lately is, you aren't actually who you think you are. And hate to break it to anyone that's listening to this podcast, this might fuck you off a little bit. But a lot of people on this planet aren't really who they actually think they are. They're just a conditioned or contorted version of who they've had to become, for a lot of people from a very young age in order to literally survive. And so we're consistently contorting. And what all survival means for particularly a child means love or safety, aka attachment. A lot of people know what attachment is. If they're listening to a podcast like yours, they're familiar with a word like attachment. All we're doing while we're growing up is looking for attachment. We speak about Gabor Mate, the GOAT, when it comes to just anything kind of based in childhood development, trauma, addiction. A kid will always choose attachment over authenticity. Always. Because it means to them in their own mind survival.
Survival. Bro, what a way to start the podcast, by the way. And thank you for touching on those subjects because something I only just said this in Tommy Bowbridge's podcast yesterday. And I heard it from Teal Swan. And she said exactly what you've just said about we aren't who we think we are. And the way that I described it in a metaphorical way was basically as you're born into this world, mum and dad open this box and they've got a new laptop. This laptop has no programs on it. And they decide they want to chuck Windows XP in there. And they go, anger is bad. You must not show anger.
Yeah.
You must not show sadness. You must not be out loud and boisterous, even though naturally, innately, within you, genetically, you want to be that loud, little, boisterous person.
Yeah.
So then it's that split of personality from the conscious to the unconscious. And that part of you, that shadow that follows you for the rest of your life, that part you repress. Because I think a lot of people think it's only the negative parts that we suppress in our shadow. But it's like even the talents that you gave up because mum and dad deemed it as unacceptable.
100%. And, you know, that we can go into like cultural conditioning around that as well. Australia and New Zealand, it's rife. It's tall poppy syndrome. You know,
is that in NZ as well?
It's massive.
Yeah, right.
It's just, I would say, strictly Australia and New Zealand. There's a little bit of it in the UK.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, dude, I've got no idea. I wouldn't have a clue. I don't have an answer for that. I haven't really tracked it or traced it. I don't know.
Did you experience it growing up?
Yeah, ruthlessly. Well, it was just put into like a box. Like, you know, we had a set framework in which you were expected or thought was okay or allowed. I was never shown what it looked like to live outside of the box. You know, I think that's probably a bit of a core theme of what we're probably, you know, maybe talking about today, is that I'll go deeper into my story at some stage, but for me growing up, you know, then this was my, you know, environmental conditioning, and societal conditioning was just the, you know, I grew up in like white, middle, upper class type environment, where everything was based on like what school you fucking went to, what you were doing when you left school, what university degree you're getting, who you got employed by once you left uni, and, you know, how far you could climb the corporate ladder. That was it. That was all I was shown. And if you dropped out from school because you couldn't perform academically, you're an idiot. You're dumb. You're stupid. Whereas the truth is, most of my mates that dropped out early and went and got a trade run, you know, multi-million-dollar construction companies these days. And so, yeah, again, you know, this was this conditioned process of also I wasn't exposed to anything else. I didn't know what else existed. I had no idea. Like there was not a single friend of mine that ran their own business or was an entrepreneur, or, you know, there was nothing in my schooling system. It was a very traditional school system and school framework in which, yeah, like you were almost like shut down from looking outside the box. You know, from critical thinking. I've mates with a couple of teachers from my school. We've connected back up in my like later years, which is a bit of a trip because they actually enjoy a lot of the stuff that I put out. Yeah. And I can't remember what the post was, but this teacher commented on my post, and you know, and I said, he said, I can't remember exactly what he said, but I said, yeah, sorry, you guys missed that at school. I didn't get taught critical thinking. And he was sort of cracking up at the whole concept. And yeah, like, you know, I just wasn't shown what else was possible.
I love this topic because something I just recently read in a book. I love reading books, bro, because I'll just grab these little nuggets here and there. I'm not great at remembering all of it, but there's just something that I go, ooh, that's cool. And it was this part where they said, he said this, and it hasn't left me. I've been using it in quite a bit of content lately, and it's a fish is the last one to find out about water. Because when you're literally born into something that you just, isn't this just the shit that you like swim in? Like, totally. I don't know what the hell this is. Yeah. But someone dives in, they're like, oh man, how cold is this water? Like, water? What do you mean?
Yeah. I remember, I can't remember the name of the old scientist. He was like Japanese astrophysicist, and he was talking about like different dimensions. Yeah. And trying to explain different dimensions. And he was talking about it through the framework of a fish in a pond. And he's like, so with the fish in the pond, all that exists is the pond. You know, there's left and right and up and down, and, you know, there's the circumference of the pond. And his entire world shifts when someone decides to step over the pond, reach in and bring this fish up and out into like this completely different dimension that this fish never even knew existed. And so it's like this whole idea of we know what we know what we don't know. But like 90% of existence is like we don't know what we don't know. And it's not until, you know, unfortunately for me, or fortunately, however you want to frame it, you have your own story. I had to fucking, you know, hit near death many, many, many times before I started wanting to look at, okay, what else is there? What else is available to me? This can't be all life has to offer me.
can you describe the final moment that there was the last brick in that wall where you just busted it down and you're like, okay, fuck, I can see the other side now. What was that moment?
Dude, thankfully I had a lot actually prior to like my biggest rock bottom. I think there's a number of tipping points for me along the journey, but again, so for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm not going to speak too much about the background of my story. If you want to go and listen to my story, it's a story of addiction, rock bottom, drug and alcohol addiction. You know, if you want the full laid out story, life journey, go and find my Instagram.
Yep.
And go and listen to some of the old podcasts that I've been on, and you can get that full rundown. But yeah, like some of the most pivotal points in my life were at 26. My dad passed away. He had a brain tumor for about 3 or 4 years before he passed. Again, unfortunately, I was in the depths of my addiction. Like I still hadn't actually found a way out of that yet. I didn't, there's still layers of regret around not having had or being able to have the experiences that I now wished I could have had with my dad. The conversations I'd now fucking love to have with my dad, the engagements, the interactions. But yeah, his death gave me 2 massive gifts, and the biggest gift, one was your health is your wealth. Full stop. It takes, unfortunately, a lot of people to, face off with their own mortality to be like, fuck, what's actually fucking important to me? And without health, you got fucking nothing. It doesn't matter how much fucking money you got in the bank account. It means jack shit if you don't have the body, the vessel, the ability to make the most of that. So that was an amazing gift he gave me, I guess, unwittingly, probably. He was an incredible man, super successful in his industry, top of the aviation industry in New Zealand. And, but he was very sedentary, a lot of stress. I truly wholeheartedly believe that he was in a marriage with my mother, that he actually, if, again, he had, access to this kind of content or awareness or just, self-inquiry in general, probably would have looked around and go, oh, fuck this.
There's more than the pond, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Where was I going with that? Health, sedentary. Yeah, he didn't move his body much. He wasn't unhealthy, but he didn't look after himself. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So, I've spoken to many people about this, and they're like, they feel the stress, like the stress of work, stress of the relationship, stress of probably what I put him through as well. It's like, fuck, you can feel this thing growing in your fucking head, as a result. And so, yeah, it was this health is your wealth. So that led me down this like health and wellness journey, which is often a pathway for a lot of people into this kind of work. So that was a gift there. And then, the gift the greatest gift he gave me was the few conversations we did have towards the end of his life, was around, I think he was doing a lot of introspection on his own life, as much as he, again, on paper, had cracked it successfully, was really good at what he did in his industry and, had the house and the wife and the, whatever, all the things. I think he just wished he had lived life a little more authentically, a little bit more true to himself. And the only way he could express that was like, Drew, just, I don't give a fuck what you do, man. Just make sure you're happy. Go and do what makes you happy.
How proud would he be of you, bro?
Oh, man, I know for a fact that he's proud as fuck. There's so many different... Yeah, like I work with a myriad of different like witches and wizards and all sorts of, people that are connected to whatever you want to call it.
Cool, so you've had those experiences?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. People tell me that he's here, that he's watching over me, that, that he, that he's super fucking proud of me. And, even to the point that, that I'm living and leading a life that he wished he could have. it was actually a bit of a trip. I recently had a session with somebody. I won't go into too much depth, but she was like, there's 3 men here. I know one of them for a fact is your dad, and he's also telling you that everything you've been saying about your mother is correct. Which I just had to laugh at, because my dad's relationship was like, it was based in a lot of humor and a lot of fucking dark humor too. So that's where a lot of that, like, that for me comes from.
I'm the same, bro.
So yeah, man, like that was probably the biggest point of like, okay, what the fuck does light me up? What the fuck does make me happy? I know I was always a rebel, bro. I was always running against the grain. I was always, fuck the system kind of guy. I was always like, I did well at school. I excelled I academically. I was also one of those people that, put in fuck all effort, got good marks, and pissed about. And, it wasn't until then that I was like, well, what else is available to me? Because I didn't have any role models in that space.
What made you question things?
Bro, I think just my disdain for authority, which again comes from my mum. And so we can go down that path. I guess that kind of like encompasses.
I think it's a great idea, because it's probably one of the most common core wounds I see, especially in men. 100%. Like the huge, like, especially with mums that were super masculine.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the most common things I help a lot of men with who are very high achievers.
Yeah.
So, dude, I'd love to go down that path if you're happy to.
Oh, dude, 100%. It's like the core and the crux. It took me a while to figure it out. But yeah, I'll sort of weave that all into the story of Mother Dearest.
Let us begin.
Yeah. So basically, I guess I'll weave in a little bit of understanding of sort of trauma along the way in this journey.
That's a great idea, yep.
I was, and this is through some really deep somatic trauma release processing that I've only been able to figure this stuff out. So when
Can
I'm
you just
talking about this
describe
kind of
somatics
work,
to people?
yeah, for sure. When I'm talking about this kind of work, I'm talking about the work that Gabor Mate talks about, that Peter Levine talks about, that, basically this is based on the premise that, and this is scientifically proven, this isn't just some weird mumbo woo-woo bullshit. This is backed by science. Another word for trauma, and trauma is so misunderstood, like it's such a buzzword in the space these days. People think it has to be a big fucking catastrophic event in your life. 95% of the time, it isn't. So that's why a lot of people will not identify with having trauma, because they don't see an event, or they haven't experienced this big catastrophic, unfortunate event that a lot of people unfortunately do experience. Physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse.
It's very common. It's like, I wasn't raped or anything, bro. I'm fine.
Exactly. Like I was never touched. I don't know. I can't,
I had a great childhood.
He had a great, bro, I would have saw black and blue for years. I had a great childhood.
Yeah.
And again, outwardly looking in, I fucking did. But there was some undercurrents that really, really distinctly fucked me up. And that was at the hands of my mum, basically. So, look, this all started even from conception. So, mum was 40 when she got pregnant with me. She had had 2 miscarriages prior to me. So, even just from the minute we're conceived, even in utero, so even still in our mum's belly, we are natural born feelers. Like all we do is experience sensation. There is no mind. Mind doesn't exist. So we're feeling everything. And we can't regulate our own nervous system. This is right up to the age of 7. We also can't regulate our own nervous system. And so we are basically riding off usually our primary caregiver's nervous system, their predisposition, their feelings, their emotions, whatever they're navigating in those first 7 years of life.
And not necessarily what they're saying, it's what they're doing.
It's how they're feeling.
Yeah.
And so, for my mum, you can only imagine, again, not many parents consciously try to fuck up their children. There are a few, but very, very few. So, again, this is all completely unconscious on my mum's behalf. But she was feeling, obviously, massive amounts of fear, terror. She was scared. She was afraid. Like, this was her last shot, her last chance to have a kid, last chance to have a child. She'd already lost two. So, I'm feeling all of that before I even was born. So, fuck, I never had a fucking chance. And so this is the definition of what we call developmental trauma. And this is why it's really hard to fucking see what we call developmental trauma, because like you just alluded to, it's just my lived experience. I've got no other objective viewpoint to see anything differently. I grew up in that environment. That was just my environment.
This is what it is.
It just was.
What do you mean my life's fucked up, dude?
Exactly. And so it wasn't until, I was deep along this fucking, whatever you want to call it, journey of healing, self-discovery, recovery, whatever name you want to give it, that I started piecing all these bits of the puzzle together. But what I was also feeling, the biggest undercurrent that created and molded such a huge part of what became my identity and the way I saw and viewed the world was this. It was a feeling. This feeling from her of I need you. So she was probably feeling I need you to survive. I was also always an extension of her self-worth. So I need you to show up in this particular way. I need you to act this particular way. I need you to dress this particular way. And if you don't, I'll withhold my love. So I basically grew up in an environment which was the literal lived definition of conditional love, even though my mum would still swear black and blue that she loves me unconditionally and love is all there is and all there should be and all there ever will be. So fuck off, bullshit. And so that was really fucking confusing, because I'm 0 to 7, all I'm doing is trying to figure out who this woman needs me to be, and I'm contorting into whatever framework she's presented me with, because I want to be loved. Because if I'm not loved, I die. This woman feeds me, she puts me to bed, she looks after me, she nurses me, she cares for me. If I don't have that level of attachment to her, I believe I'm going to die. We can't separate at that age what is theirs from what is ours. And so we also, because we can't separate what's theirs from what's ours, we have to make it mean something about ourselves. So then that's where all the beliefs start to come in. All the core wounding starts to get created. So at the depths of all of this was this core wounding of essentially like I'm not good enough as I am. I've got to be something other than Drew to be loved, liked, accepted, and to fit in. And then that played out for the rest of my entire fucking life, which is this constant seeking of approval, love, validation, and to feel like I fit in all of my life. At the same time as also having a really fucking dysregulated nervous system at the hands of my mother's irregulated, stressed the fuck out nervous system. Sure. Hence why when I first, and I can look back at the ways I used to play as a kid was super disassociative. Even like, this might sound ridiculous to some people listening to this, but the way I'd play with my Lego, it was like when I was invested into that, whatever I was making or creating in that moment, nothing else existed. It took me out of this discomfort in my body, took me out of this dysregulation in my system. To porn, I found porn at a really young age, probably like 8 or 9. I was like, well, fucking hell, I don't know what is happening here, but when I'm engaging with porn, I'm, again, that dis-ease, that discomfort, this
not having to feel
irritability, this not having to feel anything disappeared. I was like, fuck, sick, that works. I started smoking weed at 11.
So that was the next part of the self-soothing?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because you find that one crutch and you're like,
definitely.
Oh, shit, these things can help me get out of my body.
Now, again, I wasn't obviously making this conscious connection back then. I was just like, whoa, I take a puff of this thing and I feel calm. I feel at peace. I feel relaxed. The mind stopped chattering. The mind stopped running 100 miles an hour. I'm like, whoa, I can be still. Oh, wow, this is weird. This feels good. So I keep smoking. And then obviously found alcohol and like, fuck, alcohol, holy shit, I have a drink, I feel relaxed.
Which one felt better of the two to suppress the emotions?
Alcohol ended up being my like primary vice, for sure. I smoked way too much weed, way too young. It got to a point where I couldn't smoke anymore. Like I'd smoke and it just fucked me up. I'd be like super paranoid. Be the opposite effect.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people go, "Oh, weed's not that bad," but obviously it's doing things that they're not even aware of, that they're not told about either.
Totally, 100%. And this is, where I guess, we can start to talk about this. Where I started when we were chatting before we hit record was, and for anyone listening here, that doesn't necessarily think they identify with that word addiction. I was sharing with Trav that, when I give talks to more of a mainstream audience, I'll start with the question, put your hand up if you identify or think you have an addiction.
Or if you're an addict or whatever.
Or if you're an addict.
Yeah.
And no, zero hands will go up.
I'm not an addict.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Absolutely no hands will go up. Or you'll get that one super excited motherfucker that's in recovery, like a year into recovery, and they're like, yeah, me. Yeah, hell yeah. They gas
Preach,
themselves.
brother.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
Yeah.
And then I ask a few more questions, and I always end up on the final question, which is I ask them, I'm like, cool, okay, so put your hand up if you know you have something in your life that you turn to, that you reach for, that you use as a coping mechanism, that helps you to just self-soothe in some way, shape, or form, and helps you to pacify in some way, shape, or form when life just feels a bit too much, when life feels a little bit too fucking stressful, things are a little bit too overwhelming. You don't really want to be in the full reality of life. And every single hand in the room goes up. And I laugh at that fact. I'm like, okay, that's wild, because none of you put your fucking hand up when I first asked the question. I said, what's the difference between identifying as an addict or having addictive tendencies or addictive behaviors in your life versus what I've just asked you? And then it always comes back to stigma, the stigma of the word addiction.
Bro, because imagine if we had conscious awareness, not that we're visually attaching ourselves to the image of an addict. Because when I say the word addict, and I think of the first image that pops in is some like Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Like literally, you got any more crack,
Yeah, yeah. You think of someone like shooting a needle into their arm, or the homeless dude on the park bench with a brown paper bag. Or
that human emotion of disgust that comes up. So I'm like, I don't want to relate to that.
Yeah.
But then if we took away, as you said, the stigma of it, all of a sudden people start relating to it, and then there's conscious awareness where there's change.
Well, you also create a fuckload more compassion and understanding. Because you realize, oh shit, this is a human experience. This is everybody. I'm yet to meet somebody that genuinely believes they don't have something in their life. And we spoke about this before,
Yeah, mine's gaming big time.
Vary from gaming to your phone, to scrolling, to dating apps, to porn, to food, to exercise, to overworking, to, shitty, toxic, fucked up relationships, like all of that codependency, like all of these things are just ways in which, we choose to disconnect from ourselves, really, in its simplest form. So, yeah, man, I guess looping back to mum, again, I guess that showed up as I got older. My teens, that showed up as like deep-seated anger, hatred, and rage towards her, because I could now fight back. I could now say no. And my no showed up in because there was so much, and I've had to move so much, deep fucking seated anger, hatred, and rage towards my mum, because I felt so powerless for, those formative years of my life.
What I'm picturing, bro, have you seen Planet of the Apes with Caesar?
Yeah.
I'm seeing him go, no! Like when Draco tries to hit him with the stick, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you have that moment of taking back your power. Like,
Totally.
How did that feel?
Yeah, oh, bro. I mean, as a teen, again, I didn't have the conscious awareness. But it's funny you use that movie reference with a couple of my business partners, and I use the like V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
When she like goes, like she looks at him, she's just like, no, and pushes that fucking lever forward.
I got full goosebumps.
Yeah, it's just like, oh fuck. So yeah, for me, finding my no was an act of rebellion. So I think again, this loops back to when you asked like, where did the rebel come in? Where did this like fuck the system part of me come in? And it was again embedded as a result of my mum's behavior, who always wanted to fit me in a fucking box. You know, I don't put baby in the fucking box.
Yeah. Nobody puts baby in
I
the
don't
corner.
belong in a fucking box, man.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't born to be shoved in a fucking box. I was born to stand the fuck out.
Something just dropped in then. I want the listener to just picture yourself in that box that Drew's talking about. I want you to see yourself sitting there, this fully enclosed cube around you. I want you to see on the walls, on the ceiling, in front of you, whatever it is, what are the programs and the things that have kept you in that box? See how squished up you are. Your hands around your legs, you're curled up, defenseless, powerless, to be the real you. And I want Drew now to take you through how you get out of that box. Because clearly you've done it, bro, right? So if you can, bro, that listener right now is in their box that's keeping them held in there.
Yeah.
What is the first couple of steps for them to really start opening that shit up and break the fuck out of that box?
Yeah, I think you've got to start to realize that we're absolutely fucking limitless. You've got to start to realize that without these self-imposed, and you know they're not really self-imposed. We feel as though they're self-imposed, but you know, they're imposed through external experiences and environments. Again, it's kind of coming back to this. I'm not who I've been led to believe that I am. And so if I'm not who I am led to believe that I am, who the fuck actually am I? I think that's the best starting point.
Start writing it on those walls.
Who am I? Who am I underneath these frameworks? Who am I underneath the people pleasing? Who am I underneath the person that has no fucking boundaries in their life? Who am I without this mask of perfectionism? Who am I without this mask of like the successful one, or the mask of the good girl, or the bad boy, or the nice guy, or the, you know, all of these different masks that we put on a daily basis? Who am I without these conditioned responses that I feel I have to show up in? What would happen if I didn't? All the stories will start running telling that you probably will die in some way. You'll always end up at death. If I don't do that, it feels like I'm going to die. If I don't act in that way, I will feel like I'm going to die. You're not. Very rarely are, as a human being, actually genuinely under threat to their life. But, you know, they've got some very powerful parts of our psyche that will lead us to believe that is the truth.
Because it was created in a survival mechanism, hey?
Exactly. So, man, for me, it started with, I think it always actually starts with community, bro.
Yeah, that's
I think community is really fucking important. It's not spoken about a lot or enough because, you know, in our world as, you know, whatever you want to call us, coaches, mentors, teachers, practitioners, you can't teach community. And so I found that through, so I mentioned one of the gifts that Dad gave me was this health is your wealth. And so this started this big health kick for me. And so I actually ended up in network marketing. This was years ago now. This must have been, I have no idea, probably how long did Dad pass away? It'll be coming up 10 years. So let's say 9 years ago. I ended up in a health and wellness network marketing company. And dude, it was fucking everything I could have possibly wanted at that time in my life because it gave me community. It gave me like-minded human beings that wanted to leave this weird construct and concept of employment, a career where you work for 40 hours a day for 40 years of your life, trying to save 40% of your fucking income to live your best years after 65. Like, what the fuck? My dad died at 63. Which didn't even make it to fucking retirement, you know? Yeah. So I'm like, fuck that off. So everybody that was in this space and in this industry was trying to ultimately create a side hustle that turned into their main income, to leave these traps, to leave these worlds that they thought was expected of them. And so finally I actually got to realize and recognize and experience, oh, there is something else. Holy fuck, not only is there something else, there's like thousands of other people around me that are living and breathing this something else. And it was one of the most incredible pathways for me at the time, because like I said, it gave me this community. Obviously the way network marketing's set up is, I'm being taught whilst I'm consuming product. I'm being taught how to run a business. I'm being taught how to run an online business, actually, most importantly.
Marketing, sales,
marketing, all of these things, and yeah, so it gave me my health back. It gave me community. It gave me role models. It gave me people to look up to inspire to be.
Who were some of those role models?
Oh man, I've got to shout out, like, the OG was my mate Brooke, who got me into the whole company. Brooke Nelson. We traveled through Europe together at like 18.
Nice, yeah.
I met her on a Kentucky tour.
Yeah, right.
When I left school, I went over to the UK. I lived in the UK for a year and just traveled the world, man. And met her and her partner. They're still together. They're still married. Met her and her partner on this Kentucky tour bus, and she always stayed in touch. We always, I hadn't seen her for years, but then she approached me. She first approached me for the business side of things, because she knew me and my personality and just, that kind of vibrancy and approachability and relatability and realness, and
very likable.
Yeah, I guess so. And she was, well, particularly because I was a people pleaser. I needed everyone to like me, right?
Yeah. Good point.
And so, she first approached me for the business, and then somebody gave me the ick about network marketing, and I said no, and I literally tripped over a box of the product at a friend's house at Christmas, and I was like, oh, yo, are you using these products? And she was like, oh, like she must have just got sold into it by somebody. And she was like, take it. I don't want to fucking see it. Get rid of it. I don't want it. And I knew how much it was. It was like $1,500 worth of product. I was like, fuck, gangster. I was like, you sure? She's like, yeah, 100%. Take it with you. Merry Christmas. I was like, sweet. So I messaged Brooke and I was like, yo, I showed her all that. She's obviously know this now. She's like, where did you get that from? Because she was worried I'd signed up with someone else.
Oh, gotcha.
So I told her the story, and she's like, cool, I'll coach you through your first 30 days as long as you, like, when you re-out, you buy through me. I was like, yeah, it's dope. And then, I lost kegs, man. I was still in my depth of my addiction. So I was big boy. I was like 120 kegs. Still not living a healthy lifestyle whatsoever, but anyway, still managed to lose a shitload of weight. And so, yeah, shout out to Brooke and that whole team, what you call your upline, her brother, Lloyd Ross, who you might have seen around the place. Yeah, man.
Shit, yeah, okay, so that's the crew.
Yeah, Lloyd Ross is Brooke's brother.
Wow, it's a small world, man.
Such a small world.
Because I created Heart-Led Warriors with Lloyd's cousin.
All of that crew, like Lloyd, like you said, you were talking about Morgan before, they all come from network marketing.
Gotcha, okay.
And then they've all, similar stories, got to a level where they're like, oh, okay, cool, what else can I create? This isn't my driving force anymore. Like, what else is possible?
How long did you do it for?
Oh, dude, like maybe 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I cracked it. So the way that I cracked it was I never wanted to be that dude that was sliding into like all my ex like high school friends' DMs, I never wanted to be that dude. Yeah. So I was sitting there one night, sitting in front of the telly, just as you do, back when like I think Tinder was pretty new on the scene. And I was just swiping Tinder, and I was like, "Yo, hold up!" I was like, I didn't even know. I'd never heard the word lead magnet before. But what I inadvertently created was the ultimate lead magnet, bro. I created a Tinder profile that was straight up. It was honest. It was black and white. It had my before and afters. And then it had a bunch of chicks who I had worked with before and afters. And then the bio was like, hey, if you're looking to achieve X, Y, and Z, like swipe right. And I just sit there. It was back when it was free, you had unlimited swipes, and I just swipe and swipe and swipe. I'd swipe all night while I'm watching telly.
Wow.
And then I'd wait for all the matches. Matches came in, and I'd just leave it because the psychology behind how guys swipe and girls swipe is completely different. Women will actually look at the profile, they'll read the profile, they'll take in the profile. Guys, not so much. So I knew that if I'd left it for 24 hours and they were still there, the likelihood was that they had seen the profile and they were just waiting for me to reach out. And so I'd reach out and I'd ask them about their health goals and what they wanted to achieve, and I'd move them to Facebook, and then I'd set up a 3-way call with my upline, and bing, bam, boom, fucking sign them all up.
Damn, man, because it's showing you the other side of life.
Oh, 100%.
You know, it's like it was like the ultimate, as you said, in to the world you're now in.
Dude, there's so many parts of that journey that I still use, still leverage. Like it, yeah, that's where I started building my like online presence, where I started creating content, where I started creating, you know, all sorts of stuff back then. Showing what it meant to show up online, what it looked like to show up online.
Okay, so that I was going to say, what was the biggest skill you took from all that?
Ah, man, I think just having a good conversation. You know, just having a chat, giving a fuck about people, caring.
It's wild to think that, weird concept.
Whoa, what a crazy concept.
Caring? What do you mean?
I hated scripts.
Yeah.
You know, and so a lot of network marketing, you're getting scripts. A lot of sales, you're given scripts. A lot of sales training, you're given scripts.
Do it like this.
Yeah, and
Another
I've
box,
always
right?
felt so robotic, bro. If any of my clients, and all my one-on-one clients will attest to this, if I get a call with somebody, I'm like, hey, how's it? What's going on? How can I help?
Tell me more.
Yeah, talk to me like a real human being. Not some scripted, robotic fucking, 6 steps to closing a client. Like, you can feel that shit from a mile away. It gets the ick.
Why is it so hard to find people like that, though?
I don't know, bro. I think, man, like, I've just always wanted to try to keep it as real as possible, keep it as raw as possible. Just, I guess because I have gone to the depths, bro, like, I can hold people in theirs.
People can only go to the depths you've gone to, hey?
100%.
Yeah.
So I've always had much more compassion for people's experiences. I don't see them as a fucking number. I'm like, I genuinely wanted to, and did have a profound impact on the entire space of addiction globally, because I never was given or plugged into the systems that actually supported me, or the way in which I saw and how addiction was created, that it had nothing to do with the thing. My tagline for years was like, the thing isn't the thing. Stop treating the fucking thing. Stop treating the drugs. Stop treating the alcohol. Stop treating the insert coping mechanism here. What's driving that compulsion to want to escape yourself? What's driving that compulsion to want to disconnect from yourself? So in that, man, I guess it just created like just a different level of compassion and understanding for the human experience. Where we're all fucking struggling. We're all fucking going through shit. Everybody on this planet.
Bro, I just had a client session before I came here, and it's so relevant for what we're talking about here, is that I pride myself as a great coach only because I pride myself on being a great human. Yeah. And all I do is ask questions and listen, as you said, but I also show my imperfections. I'm not always talking about my shit. Like, I'm not always sharing, like, I'm fucked over. But I pick my moments when I know it's time. And this morning, this was our first official session. We've been sort of working together a bit, and she's already had breakthroughs galore just by being supported by someone who loves her and sees her in our highest projection, right?
Yeah.
But this morning, man, like, I could tell she hadn't talked about her true story because she was scared of it. And what it was, and I know she'll be okay with me sharing this because we talked about it. She wants to get on podcast sharing it. Because it's a beautiful story that, dude, at a really young age, she was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. And they tell most kids they're going to die really young. Most of her friends that had it did. They told her max 30 years old. She's 36 and killing it, healthiest she's ever been. She's just left a job of 12 years as an accountant to become a PT.
Yeah, I love that.
Right? And she's sitting there, and I said, dude, you get to own this story. It's not like, not to say that it's not an excuse, it's none of this, it's not a label. I want you to own it to help other people see the power in the fact that you have literally said, fuck you cunts trying to tell me I'm going to die at 30 years old. I get to live as long as I want. I take control.
Dude, stories are like the biggest reference point for, points of just relativity for human interaction. Like if you can find some crossover in what I'm sharing or what you're sharing, that's why people are engaging. I've got a bro at the moment who he's blowing up because, dude, the Instagram's called Through Strangers' Eyes. Shout out to Blair, who created Through Strangers' Eyes. Dude, all he's doing, he just has a heart of
sitting on the side of the beach.
Yeah, man. He'll sit on the side of the beach with a sign that just says, if you want to come and have a chat, come and have a chat.
Bro, he inspired me to want to do the same thing up the coast.
Yeah.
And just sit there and be like, yeah, let's have a tech talk or something,
Yeah. It's insane. And this is the thing, man. Like, there's not enough. And I've got to remember this because, this is my norm. My norm is surrounded by people that
go deep.
Yes, yeah, it's a good way to say it. 100%. Like that's my norm, to be having conversations of this kind of level, of this kind of caliber. And so I've got to remember, and not only that, man, because of my addiction, I was in spaces and rooms and support groups from like 21 where people were openly sharing like some of their deepest, darkest vulnerabilities. Like that was normal for me. And, I remember walking into things like AA and NA when I was like 20, 21, and sitting in this room and people talking about these fucking wild stories, but me being able to be like, oh, fuck, I'm not alone. Oh, fuck. Holy shit. Because, one of the biggest, I guess, killers when it comes to so much of this hurt and pain that so many of us carry is we think we are the only ones. We think we're an isolated situation, an isolated experience, an isolated fuck up, quote unquote. I believed I was a complete fuck up. I didn't know anyone around me that lived the way that I lived, the life that I live. I genuinely thought I was the only person that was going through that experience, and like inherently just thought I was fundamentally broken. And so to walk into a room where someone shares a familiar story or a similar story, it's like this, oh, fuck. Whoa. Wow. I see me in them. This is like breath of relief, a sigh of like, oh, holy shit. You mean there's a way out? You mean this doesn't have to be me forever? You mean that there are other people like me going through a similar shared experience? Oh, fuck. And this is why his IG right now is blowing the fuck up. Like he's got like 40 or 50,000 followers in like a month or two. Because people miss that rawness, that realness, that relatability. And not enough people have safe spaces to go and experience that. It's a bit of a trip because I've only, can look back at that in hindsight and see how, like a 12-step meeting, like AA, NA, as much as I don't align myself necessarily with that space anymore, back then was like pure medicine. Because it was just like, holy shit, fuck, okay, dope. Like these people get me, they understand me.
Yeah, I think that in itself is a superpower that you've created innately going through your experience. And for myself, like, don't get me wrong, I've got love and respect for anyone in the professional industry of like psychology, psychotherapy, counseling. Like I've had my support from them when I was younger. It's the only thing I knew.
Yeah.
Well, like people like us didn't really exist.
For sure.
So, but I think the beauty of it all is that because both of us, very similar in the way that we've gone through so much of our own shit, people feel so seen, heard, and relatable in the way that we are responding to the stories that they're telling us and sharing with us. It's not like, holy fuck, dude, you did what? Yeah. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, yep, you killed someone? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I say it to every client. Like there was just frameworks I set with every initial session with a one-on-one client is, like, unfortunately, there's literally nothing you could tell me that I haven't heard, done, or can hold and support you in. I have unfortunately heard it all. I know where fucking bodies are buried. like the amount of sexual abuse is fucking insane. Men and women,
Usually by family too.
100%. Like just the resilience of humans, man, blows my mind.
The indomitable human spirit. Have you seen those memes before?
Yeah, dude.
Where it's like these aliens take this human, and then this human comes back with one arm and is about to take over the ship.
And that's our innate, this biological inherent response to want to survive, want to live.
That's why AI won't take over.
Yeah.
They can try. We'll find a way.
Yeah, potentially.
We're like roaches,
100%.
bro.
Fucking A. Yeah, man, we'll battle. We'll battle until, unfortunately some people do get to the point where they just don't feel they can battle anymore. And I've had plenty of people in that space, friends, mates, close mates, best friends that have chosen to opt out. And I also get that too. And this is where I think, so many systems just fall short. So many people fall through the gaps, bro, and it's because, they're not looking at what's actually creating that hurt, what's actually creating that pain in the first place. We're very good, very quick, and people make a lot of money off keeping people sick.
100%. God forbid you work with someone for 8 weeks and then they're good to go.
Oh, dude, but that's my goal as a practitioner. I'm like, I want you to fire me.
Yeah.
I want you to get to a point where you're like, I'm done. I'm good.
I'm almost okay with people hating
Happy.
me. Like if I trigger you enough to piss you off to change,
Yeah.
and then you become self-led and self-powered,
Totally.
cool. Yeah. I don't need to be liked by you. Take me off that pedestal.
Yeah, man, 100%. See, I can't even remember what started that train of thought. I think you still were talking about breaking out of the box.
Yeah. Which went down a beautiful rabbit hole just then.
Yeah.
But just on a topic there that's really powerful, man, I just want to touch on is the topic of how we have so many different organizations talking about men's mental health. And yet we're still not really seeing much change. If anything, it's getting worse. Mm-hmm. Something I've recently sort of brought to light is, do you find that the issue is we're still talking about mental health? We're not showing men how to feel mental health.
Yeah, 100%.
That's like the somatics, right? The felt experience. Most men don't even know what fucking emotions are.
Yeah.
It's like logically.
It's humans full stop, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. So do you have anything that you could say to the listener to really start to tap into what they're actually feeling and how to move through them or be with those emotions?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've always said that so much of this disease, illness, mental illness, so many ailments are a byproduct of this just a innate human inability to feel and process our emotions. No one teaches us this shit. Nobody teaches us this shit. And in fact, most of us are shown or taught or conditioned into the opposite. And predominantly men, not always, but this is why male suicide rates are so much higher, astronomically higher than women's suicide rates. There's so much cultural lad bullshit indoctrination into men don't cry, we don't show our feelings, we don't express emotion in any way, shape or form, and if we do, it's usually predominantly anger, and it's done in a very unhealthy way. And so we take it out on ourselves, and that's where addiction often comes in as well. This is a form of self-punishment. So, man, for me, look, it can be a really fucking slow process. For me, it starts with creating safety in the body always. So like a very simple practice, and I guess a tool that I can, help people with right now is just, if you feel comfortable and are safe enough to do this right now, here on this podcast, do so. Close down your eyes. Take a couple of breaths in through the nose. Nice long, slow exhale out through the mouth. Repeat as many times as you feel is necessary. Just in that process, what you're doing just with that very that breath, 4 in, 8 out, 4 in through the nose, 8 out through the mouth, we're starting to slow and what we call regulating the nervous system. We're moving from a parasympathetic state, a sympathetic state of being, which is fight, flight, survival response, into a sympathetic state of being in our nervous system. We're trying to, at least. We're doing our best to. This is a practice, guys. So starting to slow things down. Then usually what I'll guide people to do is find just somewhere to place your hands on your body that feels comfortable to you, feels safe to you. It might be both hands over your stomach, might be one hand over your wrist, might be a hand over your stomach, a hand over your heart. That's mine, as a hand over my belly, hand over my heart or my chest. And instantly in that moment, I already feel a little bit more held. I feel a little bit more supported. I feel a little bit more just comfortable, at ease, at rest, at peace. And then what I'll guide people to do from here is try and do your absolute best to connect to the felt sense of safety. And that word might not resonate for everybody. It might be calm, peace, stillness, love, connection, presence, whatever word feels true for you. And just to simply connect to that felt sense might be also extremely difficult. So what I often guide people to do is then from here, see if you can find a memory. See if you can connect to a memory. It might be a memory from the past. It might be a memory from when you're a kid. Maybe a memory from when you're a child. It might be somewhere you used to play. It might be somewhere you used to visit. Somewhere you used to holiday. Might be like a grandparent's house. You just felt comfortable there. You felt safe there. You felt looked after there. Might be like a little tree hut you used to play in with your brother or your sister. Could be a more recent memory. Could be a memory of somewhere you go now, a little secret hike, a little waterfall, a lake, a river, a beach. Somewhere in nature where you just feel grounded. Again, I want you to use that imagery. I want you to use the memory to connect to the feeling. See if you can use that memory wherever your mind's taking you to, feel what comes with that memory. Feel that sensation of, there's a little bit more peace here. You might even just start to touch on the edges. That's fine. There's no right or wrong way to do this. This is a practice. This will not come innately to you the first time you try it. Do this on a daily basis. And it might not be a memory. For some people, it's just a completely made up, imagined space and place. I just call it home. Call it your happy place. It always makes me think of Happy Gilmore. Go to your happy place. Create your own happy place. For me, it's a spot in Wanaka, New Zealand. It's this beautiful waterfall at the end of this dirt road. There's no one around. In the middle of this like glacial valley. There's just like this beautiful piece of grass that leads up to this waterfall. And as soon as I drop into that, I can just feel this like ease in my body, this peace, this release of tension. There's a sense of calm. It's like, I'm at rest here. I feel comfortable here. What we're doing in this process, and I would encourage anyone who's listening to do that on a daily basis. If you really want to double down, do this whilst lying on the floor, with your back on the floor, with your legs up over a chair, over the couch, or over a bed, so your legs are at a right angle while your back's on the floor. It's the fastest way to move your body from a parasympathetic state of being into a sympathetic state of being. It's the fastest way to basically chill the fuck out, in layman's terms. So if you combine this, what we call this is resourcing, with that body position, your body will naturally start to come into a place of rest. What we're doing in a place of rest is we can now start to create what we call in a more clinical sense or clinical setting, we're creating a greater window of tolerance, or we're creating a deeper sense of capacity within ourselves. So what we're doing is that we're starting to retrain and teach the body that, we are safe. I am safe. It's okay to now start to bring a few things up for processing. And to start with, that might just be actually finally grieving your childhood sweetheart. that you never cried about because you were a lad. And at 20, after breaking up, as much as your heart was absolutely smashed to smithereens, you buried that heartbreak. Maybe that's what's there. And maybe you just start there and you're like, fuck, all of a sudden this wave of like sadness comes through you and you want to have a cry. Beautiful, have a fucking cry. Maybe it starts to get a little bit deeper, and I'm not going to guide anybody into their deepest, darkest fucking traumas without being supported here. But, maybe something does come up there's a tension, an energy of anger. You were hard done by. Maybe it's as simple as yesterday your boss berated you for something and you didn't feel like you could stand up for yourself. Now you're like, oh, fuck, there's some fucking anger in my body. I feel pissed off. I feel fucking angry. Let that rip. Primal scream into a fucking pillow. Smash a pillow. Primal screams while driving are real fucking good.
Best, bro.
The best.
Yeah, I always say anger's like the Tupperware lid container to all the other emotions.
Oh, dude, anger is one of the most beautiful emotions and powerful emotions that I ever work with. I work with both male and females, women and men, and I would actually say probably I work with majority women, maybe 70% women, and that is always they will not at the start know it, but that's the predominant emotion that's stored in their system.
I don't think I'm an angry person.
Yeah, I'm not angry, and I would have said the exact same, bro, when I started this work. I'm not an angry person. Dude, I was fucking full of rage. I was full of anger, but anger alchemized, anger processed, anger moved, very quickly turns into power.
Passion, right?
Power, passion, fucking just
Protector,
truth.
guardian.
Oh, man, it's everything, 100%. And so, yeah, like when we can start to create that level of safety in our body, then the body will naturally and innately do what it is always meant to have done. The only reason you still ruminate around your fucking ex, or you're still thinking about X, Y, and Z situation 10 years after the fact, is because you haven't yet felt the feeling associated with the thought. Any ruminating thoughts, looping thoughts, things that still come into your head that piss you the fuck off because you're like, what the fuck, that happened 10 fucking years ago, is fueled by the feeling that's gone unfelt. So if we can start to actually slowly but surely let the body know that, hey, it's safe to start to move some of this, feel some of this, bring some of this stuff up and create safe environments where we get to actually, feel and process our emotion, man. I mean, that's kind of the key and core of all of this fucking work.
Just doing that, you will change.
Literally, 100%.
Like literally expressing the emotions that you've suppressed for most of your life. I get a lot of people to journal.
Yeah.
I love journaling. It's like I love the word you said, the alchemizing.
Yeah.
I find that people tend to be controlled by their thoughts when they're not even their thoughts.
Yeah.
When it's like, if we can physically see it on paper and speak it out loud, and we go, oh, wait a second, that is not true, or that is real for me, or whatever it is they might want to do. I find that shadow work, especially like those questions that you can reflect on and really bringing yourself, like loving yourself as a fucking whole again. As we started this whole conversation with, it's like when I can get men, and especially for myself, my own experience, when I finally accepted the monster that I am deep down, it was like that was the first time I actually felt in control of that monster. Because it is 100%.
Me. We're just owning these parts. So this is, I guess, it's kind of a good segue into... I personally fucking hate journaling. I am not a journaler. Heaps of people love journaling, and like if that works for you, 100%, journaling is dope. It's a super cathartic. My version of journaling is I basically just talk to myself.
Yeah, and I get like voice notes if someone needs to, or a video to themselves. Yeah.
So I guess taking that a little bit deeper is something that I really love, and works really well for a lot of people to start to figure out some of these behaviors, some of these patterns, some of these looping thoughts, some of these, what a lot of people will call self-sabotage, is starting to recognize that it's not necessarily them in the like whole sense of them, it's a part of them. You'll often hear people refer to varying different behaviors as a part of them. They'll talk about it in theory, like there's this part of me.
It wants to do this.
There's a part of me that keeps, kind of showing up like this, and I just feel there's this part of me. And so parts work is really fucking dope. I love it. There's a modality called internal family systems, which is created by Richard Swartz, which I found is really. It's a really amazing and incredible segue into some of the deeper, more somatic based work, because it is somewhat still cognitively based. So you get to have a really good cognitive understanding of these different parts. So when I talk about parts, basically, let's just say people pleasing, for example. People pleasing was a part of me. I would have, sworn black and blue. It was just who I was. This is just me. I just like people. I just I just love helping. I love serving. I love sacrificing my time for everybody else around me. Maybe some people can relate to this.
I don't care about the money.
Yeah.
I just love helping.
Well, not even that. Like this was before I was even fucking coaching, man. Like I was, it was just how much more accessible can I make myself to what, again, I didn't realize at the time was filling that void of love.
Hey, Drew, can you come help me move my whole house on Saturday?
100%, bro. I'd love to.
Thanks, bro.
Definitely, because if I do this act of what I believe is selflessness, which is actually extremely selfish, because all I'm doing by saying yes unconsciously is that by saying yes and helping you move and sacrificing all of my time and getting absolutely nothing for helping you move, what I do get is your love, is your approval, is your validation. And so that is the payoff. And so that part of me, we get to start to realize a lot of people talk about these parts as they actually really hate a lot of these parts. They have a really tumultuous relationship with these various parts of themselves. They consciously hate the fact that it shows up, and they'll often consciously berate that part of themselves that shows up. But what we need to start to realize is that most of these parts are actually doing their best to protect us.
Yeah.
So this is, one of the fascinating parts of this work, is that when we can start to explore these varying parts of us, we can if we can actually start to meet them with a little bit more curiosity. It's like meeting them like you would address a toddler, a 3-year-old, I always say. Like, how can we meet ourselves, most importantly, but actually also these varying different parts of us that show up, like I'd be talking to a 3-year-old. I would hope that you're not berating a 3-year-old. I'd hope, unfortunately some people do, but I would hope that you would realize that if a 3-year-old's throwing a tantrum, it's not because they're an asshole. It's because they don't know how to express a need that they want met. And so this is exactly what's happening with these parts. When they throw their tantrum, when they show up in the way that they do, they're actually just looking for a little bit of recognition. And so it's like, how much more can we start to come down to that level and be like, hey, I see you trying to do your thing, and I understand what you get by doing that thing. I understand that there's an unconscious payoff that, you created fucking 20 years ago, but it really doesn't work for us anymore at 30 or 40 or 50 years old. It's become maladaptive. What was once a adaptation is now a maladaptation. So it's like, hey, I see you, I get you, I understand you. Like, what's your role here? What do you think you're actually doing here? And we start to understand, oh shit, this part of me is actually protecting me, or this part's serving me in some way. Just, it's become distorted. And so we start to see it with a lot more compassion. We can meet it with a lot more kindness, with a lot more understanding, with a lot more validation. And we can start to loosen up the grip that this part has held over us for such a long time. And in this process, there's a question that you eventually get to when you go through the process and you talk to this part. It's really cool. It's almost like an open dialogue you're having with this part. You're literally having like this conversation with this part. Sounds like a bit of a trip, but it's cool. So that's why I say it's my form of journaling. I walk down the beach and I just talk. I call it holding a committee meeting. So like talk to the various different parts of myself. Like imagine sitting at a boardroom table, and I like talk to who needs like, all right, team, like who needs some love, who needs some care, who needs some attention.
Have you done that recently?
Yeah, man, I do it often if I feel like I'm getting a bit in my own way or in my own head or a little bit caught up, or there's some irrationality going on in my thinking, or some irrationality in something's a bit off, something doesn't feel quite right. It's much less obvious than it used to be.
What's the part that seems to be more dominant in those spaces?
Good question. It varies, man. It's usually a mix of, I mean, ego is a very broad term. There's a lot of sort of like branches of the ego. Inner child, 100% can show up in that. My inner teenager. Like even just the other day, I, without going into too much of the story, someone was telling me something that I wholeheartedly didn't believe to be true about myself. They were projecting some bullshit at me, basically. And I wanted to like fucking clap back at this motherfucker. I wanted to like fucking fire off. I wanted to like just bury this dude. Like I wanted to show him everywhere in his life he's fucking falling short. Everywhere. Like I could have destroyed this guy. And I had to stop and take a breath and be like, okay, you're not that person anymore. That's actually not going to be constructive in any way, shape, or form. It's not going to benefit the outcome of the situation or scenario. What part of me wants that? And I was like, oh, that's my inner teenager. That's the teenager that always felt injustice, felt hard done by, felt like it didn't actually have the voice that it wanted, didn't feel like it could defend himself. And so again, I just got to like drop in, have a little bit of a chat with my inner teenager. Hey bro, I see you, man. I love you. I get you. I understand why you exist. I understand why you want to fire up right now. That anger's still valid, and I might even move that anger in that moment, but I'm not going to throw that anger back at this other person. So I'm still moving the stuff in real time. There's a little quote that I always say, like, experience minus emotion equals wisdom. So rather than that reactivity or that reactive response, I got to slow down. And this, this isn't just always perfect and always easy. It's taken fucking years to get to a place like this. Like anything, it's a process, it's a practice. But I could catch it. So I caught it. I could actually validate the fact that that part of me was really fucking angry, not shut it down. Ask it what it needed, and it was like, I need to fucking punch some shit. I'm like, dope, let's go punch some shit. So we went and punched some shit and moved that anger, and then that part felt a lot more settled and looked after and cared for and heard and held and acknowledged. And it wasn't kicking off and playing a part in my response. So I was responding, not reacting. Mm. And so in that moment, I got to then ground and reply from a place of what was still my fucking truth, but I wasn't fucking throwing stones.
I'm assuming this was an online experience and he wasn't just standing there waiting for your
response.
It
goes a bit deeper than that, bro. But yeah, it was... it was just a situation, man, that has, I'm still moving through it. That was actually with a mate of mine that, I felt I had been really hard done by in a particular situation. Yep. And had never even was given the opportunity to defend myself. Mm. And so, again, it's those moments where I like old me, like if you took old me, I probably wouldn't have wanted to feel any of that. I probably would have just hit the bottle.
Yeah, it's funny. I resonate hard with that because I had an experience recently where I actually stood up for myself for the first time.
Yeah, fuck
properly with a mate.
Yeah.
Usually in the past, it would be like still a very reactive sort of like I hated conflict.
Oh, bro, you and me.
Couldn't stand it, man. My nervous system would be like,
Yeah.
fuck, my face would get red and like,
Yeah.
But in this moment, I actually, because I'm still learning, I'm way better. Because I allowed myself to go there, I think, this was like a beautiful integration where a mate of mine sort of called me on something. And I'm big on justice too, right? So I was like, nah, fuck this cunt. I'm going to like go back at him. And I let the emotion sort of come through too.
Yeah.
So I was a bit like, nah, listen to me. I'm sick of you. And I sort of let it come through in a passionate, real passionate way. I knew what I was saying. I wasn't like erratic, but I feel like he really needed to hear it with the passion and the, because I was pissed off. I was sick of it because it had been happening for so long.
Totally.
And I know other people were too. So, but the way he heard it and received it, he was really grateful because it landed for him, man. He needed to almost, because he kept trying to butt into like he always did. And I was like, no, fucking listen to me for once, cunt. Like, and this is what you do. You try to end blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And afterwards, like we were like brothers again. I was like, oh, all good.
Yeah.
But I think the way he received it, he was like, man, thank you. And then he literally went on a journey of asking other people, like, do I do this? And they're like, yeah. So it was this moment of me going, yeah, fuck, I stood up for myself.
Totally.
And actually let myself get into that conflict space while also not feeling shame for letting my emotion come through.
Yeah.
I think especially with the ADHD backing, it's like conflict, especially rejection sensitivity, all those things that might come through in that, dysregulated state. I was just like, fuck it, bro. You did what you could in that state. Yeah. Good, well done.
I've had so many experiences like that. And, this is like the phases of this journey, right? Like when something's new, it's not always going to be cool, calm, and collected. Like when I was like, I'd gone from like the ultimate fucking people pleaser and nice guy for my entire life, into seeing that and realizing that, it's these swings of the pendulum. So when any time there was an opportunity to either fucking say no or stand my ground or hold my stance or like actually stand up for my fucking self, it was the extreme opposite for a very long time, where a lot of people did cop my heat.
Yeah.
A lot of people did cop a lot of fucking fire. A lot of people did, and that wasn't necessarily to say that what I was saying at the time wasn't true. But it was definitely an overcompensation, right, of like where I had come from. And this is just a natural, innate part of the healing journey. It's like, when you start setting boundaries with people, like you just start smashing boundaries everywhere, like boundary, nah, until that pendulum slowly starts to just like kind of integrate and swings a little bit more into the middle, and there's a little bit of flex there.
Yeah.
And that's like anything, when we're integrating anything, any part of ourselves. Usually it goes way out to the opposite polarizing end of the spectrum and then swings back in a little bit.
The best experience I had of that is when I first did NLP.
Don't get me started on fucking NLP, bro.
I come out of that room,
Fuck
bro.
NLP.
I would have pissed so many people off, eh? And then it's that, as you said, the swing real hard one way, lose a heap of mates, come back and be like, okay, well, shit, okay, I need to really rein this in.
Dude, I would have hated following me when I first started in the network marketing journey.
Yeah.
I would have fucking been the most annoying motherfucker in the world. Like, just this high vibe, life is incredible, fuck yeah. Like, you all need my medicine, you all need what I'm on, you all need to see what I'm doing, what I'm realizing.
Why aren't you getting up at 4:30 a.m.?
But it did genuinely come from a place of like, I thought I had found the fucking holy grail.
Yeah, same, bro, yeah.
And it did genuinely come from this place of like, holy fuck, I wish you guys could all experience what I'm now experiencing.
Yeah.
Until, you dial it back a bit and you realize, actually, not everybody's ready for this. Actually, most people aren't ready for this. Oh, shit, okay, let's just, realize that everybody's on their own fucking journey and, you say enough that they know where to come if they need you, when they need you.
They don't need unsolicited coaching.
Oh, dude, that's the worst.
What I'm hearing is that you need to... You should just try this.
Yeah.
Bro.
Most people just want someone to fucking listen, bro.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Again, that's why, the stuff with Through Strangers' Eyes is blowing up, because Blair's just creating a space to, like, let people be heard.
And it's really cool how he films from the back too.
Yeah.
I love that.
Totally.
It was a subtle thing that I noticed straight away. I was like, pure safety, just not trying to capitalize on someone crying or something. It's just let them share their story.
Yeah. So there's no identification of who that person is unless, you know, they want it to be or they're given permission. And even then, it's still all the shot is just from behind them. So you don't, unless you specifically knew who that person was, you would have no idea. You have no idea who they are. So there's that anonymity, I guess, around it as well, which a lot of people find a lot of safety in. Yeah, man, like, you know, this is why people, you know, in positions of like PT or hairdressers feel like they become counselors. Because there's that point of separation, there's that point of difference where someone just feels comfortable, they feel safe to just talk about life and like kind of just let a bit of that baggage, weight out of the backpack.
A client said something last night. I do this thing called Tech Talks, just like a one-off chat, 90 minutes. And some people like that because they're not diving right into like a 12-week program or something with me, right? And he said something last night. He's a really deep thinker. It was a great convo. And he said, bro, sometimes I think that I should just get like a shitty job, just go into like the mines or something that I hate, but I'm there and I get to talk to people and be their support.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. And I was also like, I hear you, bro, but you're still sort of avoiding what you're calling to.
For sure.
You know, you'd be a fantastic coach or support or counselor, whatever it is you're driven to, but you are here to help people.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that is capacity to go and do a couple of years in the mines and just talk to the boys there and or the women as well and be there, that person that's just weaving their magic into that space that needs that.
100%.
It's perfect, right?
Kind of cool them. I've got a few mates like that. I call them like sleeper cells.
Yeah.
You know, they're still like plugged into the matrix. They still operate in the matrix. They still love a lot of their life in the matrix, but they're like undercover, like fucking gurus.
That's my fiance, bro. She's a teacher. She's been in private schools for like 12 years. She's a music teacher.
Yes, sick.
But on the side, she does sound healing.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
fuck, man, she's so good. Like, so passionate. She's a relationships coach as well.
Yeah.
She's been through DV. So she's lived all these fucking really brutal paths and still just loves showing up for the kids. Yeah. You know, she's in the system. This matrix we talk about, right? And I used to be the whole like, fuck the system because like it ruins a lot of people's lives. But I know I also wouldn't have a podcast to share with people if the system didn't exist. So there's this part of it where it's like having love for what I can utilize in a positive way. And Christelle does the same, bro, where she cops a lot of heat, not her personally, but she hears a lot of people talking about the school system and how much it sucks. And it does suck. Yeah. But she's doing her best with what she has in a system that has a lot of red flags. Yeah. You know, she's like a sleeper cell. She's helping kids with severe autism, ADHD, emotional dysregulation, abusive parents. She's the one they all come to share with because she's just Miss Hill.
And dude, man, I think sometimes some of those people are way more important and influential than people like you and I.
100%, bro.
You know, I remember, I've been arrested for a million different things as a result of my old lifestyle. But one of the sentences I got given at one point was I had to do like court-appointed drug and alcohol assisted counselling or something like that.
Yep.
And I was always kind of brought up a little bit woo, like mum was always into alternative medicine and I was always that weird kid with the super healthy lunches and everything was fucking organic. Like, used to piss me the fuck off. I was like, fuck, just want a fucking Nutella sandwich. And anyway, I walked into this woman. She's amazing. You know, we're not as in touch anymore, but incredible human at the time. Her name was Maggie. And walked into her office. And I don't know, it was just maybe this like real recognizes real kind of moment. There was something that she saw in me and I saw in her. And I was like, I fuck with you. And she looked at me and was like, I fuck with you. Again, this is all like unspoken. And she goes, are you down for some like a bit of unconventional counselling? I was like, 100%. So she said specifically, she's like, you know, what some of the stuff I'm going to take you through and teach you and, you know, expose you to, you can't share. Like, I'll literally get fired. But what I meant to do is a load of shit, basically. And this is what I know actually works really well.
Yeah,
so she was trained in things like Psyche and
oh, no way.
all sorts of different sort of like alternative modalities, which back then was even more alternative. They were talking like over 15 years ago, you know, that
There would have been like SWAT teams on that
yeah,
shit.
it was pretty
The fuck are
and
you
again,
doing?
even for me, already having been exposed to a little bit of that, was still a bit out the gate, but I was super open, always open to stuff like that. And yeah, if it wasn't for her, man, and for her taking me into some of the processes that she did, even back then, yeah, I don't think I'd be where I was today. And so yeah, I think some of those people are crucial, they're key.
I love that story, man. Can you name a couple of you find the most powerful modalities to help people?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've already mentioned IFS. IFS is incredible. Internal Family Systems is dope.
Is that like a certification you have to get before you start taking people through that, or?
Yeah, I mean, ideally.
Yeah.
That's another story in itself. It's fucking bizarre. So that the official certification in Australia is a lottery. It's the most cooked shit in the world. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, right.
So there's people that you might have been on the waiting list for a year, and because it's so fucking popular right now.
Yeah.
There might be people on the that have been on the waiting list for a year or 5 years, and it's like a pick and mix as to who gets through. And they haven't upped the intake, which is just wild. Everyone's just like in the Facebook group, like, what are you guys up to?
Yeah, right.
We all want to be certified in this thing, so people are going elsewhere. So shout out to a guy called Trevor Bird, who's based in Canada. I've done a lot of work with him. He's a phenomenal man. You'll find him on Instagram. Just type Trevor Bird. He does some IFS qualifications and certifications. The second I would recommend, hands down, and this is slightly biased, but also not because it is phenomenal and amazing, is my business partner's modality. So it's operated through, it's called the Center for Healing.
Oh, bro, that's where I go through.
Oh, no way. Yeah,
Yeah,
dope.
I'm doing the trauma-informed coaching one,
Sick.
which I've been doing for months.
So Matt and Ryan are my
Dude,
business
they're
partners.
fucking amazing.
Yeah.
They are, like, their knowledge.
Oh, they're
You can tell it's a lived experience, but also they're just so
insane.
passionate with it,
Yeah.
which I obviously now know why you three work together.
Yeah.
You're all the same.
and they've got such an incredible way to communicate and translate what is quite clinical understanding of this work, of somatic-based trauma release work, basically,
Yeah.
in its shortest frame, because it can get a bit clunky.
Yeah.
You know, there's obviously compassionate inquiry, which is Gabor Mate's modality, somatic experiencing, which is Peter Levine's. But yeah, they are a little bit clunky, and some of them are still quite a bit old school as
A
well.
lot of them are old school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Matt and Ryan have kind of taken the culmination of a work, you know, some of Gabor's work, Peter Levine's work, PVT, and really made this perfect amalgamation of this, like, really, it's called embodied processing, which is, I think is one of the dopest qualifications out there, and crucial if you want to be working, I believe, in this space, full stop, because regardless of who you're working with, you're always working with trauma.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand trauma, there's a big difference between trauma-informed and trauma-trained.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people there. And I get it. It's an incredible thing to still understand. But like you said, you know, Matt and Ryan have a free trauma-informed coaching cert. That doesn't mean you can necessarily work with trauma.
Yep.
And so I guess just prefacing for people that are looking for support in that space, there's a lot of people that talk about trauma that still actually don't know how to hold somebody in theirs. And it's, you know, it's I do believe it's a space that probably needs a little bit more regulation.
100, bro. We need, like, it's because at the same time, I know everyone has, I hope most people are, like, there to support people and help people.
For sure.
But at the same time, if you're not helping them the right way, you're not actually helping them. You probably might be doing more
And
damage.
I think we were talking about this to start with, man. Like, there's so many people in the space that it's like driven and led by ego, and they're imposing onto their client what they think their client needs, versus actually like trying to figure out what the client wants and needs,
Yeah, actually listening.
or actually just asking the right questions, like you said, and empowering them. You know, you create a much for, they get frustrated, your clients will get really fucked off with you
Oh, yeah.
because they'll want all the answers and they'll want it all hard, and they want it all fast, and they want it all as quick as they possibly can. But you're doing them a real injustice by just handing them everything, rather than them giving them the experience of. And if you can give them the experience of, or give them the right tools, or the practices, or the processes, or ask the right questions where they can come to the conclusion on their own, then they're like, oh, holy fuck, wow, I can navigate that without you. And that's what we want. Yeah. This is the problem with talk-based therapy. This is why I've had, fucking hundreds of clients that have sat in front of psychologists. I've worked with psychologists. Yeah. I've had many psychologists that have been my clients that they will, they'll come to me and they'll, I've sat in front of the same fucking psych for like the last, 5, 10, 15, 20, fucking 30 years, and I've learned more from one fucking session with you than I have with them. And again, this is not shitting on psychology, but they're trained. If you go through a psych syllabus today, 60% of that curriculum is how they can't relate to their clients. Yeah. It's ethics. It's not how I can help them. It's how I can't help them.
What rules do you need to stand by?
Legit. Yeah. It's all based in ethics, which again, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
There's some foundational, fundamental pillars that are needed to uphold how to help and support someone. But because I'm not bound by those frameworks, when I work with people, like there's an instant rapport, there's an instant connection, there's an instant like, holy fuck, this is something like so many of my clients, man, I've become fucking homies with.
Yeah.
Like mates with.
You're allowed to,
like
right?
Men and women all across the fucking world who could happily go and knock on their door tomorrow and they'd be like, I'd be able to hang out with them and kick it with them just as I would with you. Like this is the first time we've met, there's like this rapport. It's like that, again, that real recognizes real. And you're going to attract the more, this is probably a good way to kind of like circle to start to close this off, is the more you start to peel back all of this shit, the more you connect and reconnect and become and embody your authentic true self. And the more fucking real you are, the more authentic you are, the more that you can take off the masks, connect to just your fucking truth, your whole self, your authentic self, the more, it's that whole your vibe attracts your tribe energy, right? Dude, most of my one-on-one clients have got nothing to do with addiction. All my addiction-based clients have been in my group programs. I'd say maybe 90% of them that knock on my door have fucking nothing to do with addiction. I'll be like, yo, like, what do you need help with? They're like, honestly, I don't know, but I dig you. I like your vibe. I like your energy. I like who you are. And I don't know what it is that you've got, but there's something in you I fucking want. And that's the power of authenticity. That's the power of like starting to peel back this conditioned crust that we've created that we think we are, and actually become who we always already actually were. It's just like returning back to self, this remembering of self that people crave. People crave so deeply that level of fucking authenticity. They can feel it.
And they feel it
from a fucking mile away.
They see it and they want that.
Yeah.
And like you said, you don't even have to sell yourself or market yourself. You're just being you.
Legit. I tell this to everybody. I also have a lot of number of business clients. I'm like, your biggest asset is you. The more real and the more that you can, and your fucking story. The more you can show your story and share who you are at your core, without those masks, without that veil, without that fucking bullshit facade you've upheld for so many years, people instantly gravitate towards that.
Yep.
They instantly respond to that. They can instantly feel that. Like I said, we're all feelers. Whether you think it or fucking not, you feel something. Listening to me today, you might fucking feel something. You might be like, fuck, I fucking hate that dude. You're like, fuck.
I don't think there'll any be one feeling that,
I don't resonate with that motherfucker at all. Or you might be like, fuck, there's something that he said that, like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's not so much even the fucking words. It's just the way in which he is being that is like pulling me into this. And that's what we need to start to follow more, man. Like, we've all got this innate ability to connect to whatever you want to call it, bro, our authentic self, your higher self, the universe. And unfortunately, so many of us are so deeply disconnected from that internal guidance system. And if we can follow that, the more that we can follow that, the more open we become to actually listening to that and being guided by that, we're always led in the right direction. Always. Every single fucking time without fail. It might not be what you thought you wanted, but it will always be what you fucking need.
Oof. What a way to wrap that up, bro. Thank you. I'm pretty sure we're like nearly 2 hours or something, or hour and a half. Right. But that's, dude, that went down so many cool avenues, and you're just a cool dude. And as you said, just being you. And I hope everyone understands that now, is that you don't need to overcomplicate it. Imagine that the only process you need to do to be happy is just become more you.
That's it.
Fucking hell. What do you mean?
Like, cool. It sounds super simple. It's not as simple.
Yeah, it's hard, but it's simple.
Oh, man, the concept in itself really is like we're fucking simple beings. We're simple organisms. We just get in our own fucking way. We overcomplicate everything. Mm-hmm. We make things way harder than they need to be.
Yeah, bro. Yep. And it's now, meeting people, listening to people like Drew, myself, some of the people he mentioned in there, especially like people like Peter Levine, Gabor Mate, Aubrey Marcus even, I heard him talking. Yeah. He went through a whole IFS process with... is it Dick Schwartz?
Richard Schwartz, yeah.
Dick took him through a whole process, and Aubrey brought up...
Oh, it's on his podcast.
Yeah, about the ping pong situation.
Yeah.
And then that 4-year-old created this warrior that used to protect Aubrey going up against men and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
it's a powerful episode, actually.
Dude, I cried like crazy, hey.
Yeah.
So, it's understanding these little things, starting to become more receptive to learning about these things, right? And these are why these conversations are so powerful, because it's a lived experience for yourself. And now you get to teach others through it too. And it's really beautiful, man. I love what you do. I love what you're about. I love meeting people like yourself, because I'm always open to learning more things. I know I want to go. I love like that center for, is it Center for Healing or Center of Healing?
The Center for Healing.
So do they do the trauma coaching as well? Like a full...
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. So they've got EP, which is embodied processing, and then Ryan's partner Mel, she runs what's called root cause therapy. That's really dope as well.
I've heard about that. Yeah. Cool. Because dude, I want to keep adding as much as I can to my belt. I'll never stop. So those little things, I'm like, yep, cool. That'd be a mad modality to add to what I do.
I got the plug.
Hey, so did you start that whole thing with them?
No, fuck no.
But you came in and you did your line in the sand.
Someone sent me some of Ryan's stuff, because he was like one of the very few other people that was addressing addiction the way that I was, and talking about addiction the way I was. And someone must have just sent me his, something of his, and I was like, oh wow, this dude gets it. There was, and there still actually is not many people that openly talk about addiction through that same lens. So someone sent me his. Some clip, some content, something. And I was like, oh, fuck, I've got to connect with this guy. And ended up connecting. And it wasn't until maybe a year or so later, so in a lot of my group programs, I bring on guest speakers. And it was one of the last times I was running. So my core group program was called Line in the Sand. And I was like, fuck, I've tapped a lot of people. Like, I don't know who I've got left. It was one of the last rounds before it moved into what me and Matt and Ryan created. But, I was like, oh, fuck, Matt and Ryan. And so I reached out. I was like, hey, do you guys want to come and just guest talk in my group? And they were like, yeah, 100%. That'd be sick. And they were just on one that day. They were just like, they just absolutely sent it. And you could just see everyone in the group. Like, I teach through experience. They're very good at teaching. This is where like we kind of made the perfect combination. Is I do a lot of teaching through experience. They're very good at landing the cognitive understanding.
They're so good at explaining shit, bro.
So
like, as teachers,
good, man.
Actual teachers, incredible.
100%. And so you could see so many of these light bulbs just boom, boom, boom going off. And it's just amazing feedback after that call. And it was actually Matt messaged me and was like, "Yo, bro, that was sick. Why haven't we done anything together before?" And I was like, "Well, I've actually been calling in business partners for about the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm sick of doing this shit alone."
Yep.
And we got on a Zoom call and I just like laid it out, my grand vision of what we wanted to create. And so, yeah, I stopped running Line in the Sand as it was my program then, and we spent about a year creating and curating what Line in the Sand now is. And so it turned into a 12-week, three-headed group facilitated program.
So you're still running it?
It's now an evergreen program.
Cool.
So we stopped running it about 3 months ago.
Epic.
All
But
the
you've got all that
content and
content
everything's
there,
all
yeah.
still there. So it's a shitload cheaper for anyone that wants it now. It's like
How much?
$500.
Oh, sick. Okay.
Yeah, so they get the 12 weeks of content. They get access to the private Facebook group plus all the previous call recordings.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, so they get all the juice. They just don't get the level of support that other people would have, just because we've all gone in different directions
Are
now.
you still doing group stuff now?
Yeah, just in the middle of launching my new program right now. So it's called the Dopest U. I don't know how long this takes to go to air.
Yeah. This will be a little bit down the track.
Yeah, so probably intake might have closed by the time you guys start listening to this.
Yep.
But I've just created my new group program. Called the Dopest U.
Sick.
It's basically the pathway to ultimately giving less fucks and start living a life that's more authentically true to yourself, and just stop blocking yourself from your own fucking greatness.
Sick. I like that. And do you take one-on-ones?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, cool.
My bread and butter is usually and has been my one-on-ones for the last couple of years. Work with one-on-ones from all over the fucking world. And if anyone's interested, just come and knock on my fucking door.
Just Drew Wild on Instagram?
Drew_Wild.
Bro, thank you.
Man. Thank you.
Thank you. What a conversation. And
I'm still excited for these questions that you've got. Are we doing them?
Oh, dude, if you've got no rush to
Can
go,
we just do
then
like a quick fire round?
I've got fucking 15 questions here we haven't even touched on.
We'll do
Sure.
quick fire.
Let's do it. Because then this can be something we can sort of chop up, and it can even be content for yourself.
Yeah, let's go.
So let's get into topics with the tech. Okay. So first question I had here, kind of what we were talking about with as before. Why do you believe addiction is more about why the pain rather than why the addiction?
Because if you take away said addiction, there's still the compulsion to escape. So therefore, by proxy, it wasn't the thing. It was what's fueling the thing. It was the compulsion to not want to be with self.
Yeah, I love that. Just that personal story on, your dad passing. How did that truly impact your journey with addiction and recovery, but also like coming to terms with death?
Yeah, wow, that's not a quick fire question. Man, at the time, I probably never realized the impact that it really had on me. Like I said, it's only been in hindsight that I've realized some of the gifts it's given me. And it wasn't until I'd always said, this was, it was still a couple of years after his death that I got, whatever you want to call it, clean and sober, basically. So it was maybe a year and a half into being clean and sober, I started looking around and being like, what I've been shown and taught and told isn't it. Like what else is there, and started really hunting around for what else is there, what else is possible. And ended up in a particular workshop that I'd always had the cognitive awareness that I was either I knew this cognitively, I was either really okay with my dad's death, or I've never been in the right space for it to come up and out. So I had the cognitive awareness of that, but hadn't yet built the somatic framework or been in the right and safe and supported, facilitated environment for that to come up and out. And so I was in a practice where it was, this is done at so many workshops these days, it was a anonymous hug. So you close half the room, closes down their eyes, opens up their arms. The other half of the room just finds a stranger, and you start to drop into this hug. And man, I was like, oh, I mean, this isn't too weird. I'm a bit of a huggy dude anyway. I was just dropping into this hug, and obviously it had like emotion-provoking music in the background, and the facilitator at the time said one thing that just it cracked me. He said, now imagine it as if this was someone you wished you could be hugging right now. And that's where it just went boom. And it was just floodgates opened. I was just bawling my fucking eyes out for like 20 minutes straight, just absolute like wailing sobs. And I was like, "Hoy!" I was like, "There it is."
Well done to that facilitator.
Yeah, fucking A.
I find the best facilitators are the ones.
Smiles for that one.
Oh, that was Preston?
Yeah, 100.
Shit. I could imagine the intuitive stuff he would have come through in every room. I'm sure they've got structure, but then it's like, we need to change this.
That's the art of facilitation, man. It's like, knowing that you can chop and change and what's needed in that space. And yeah, it broke me, bro. And that was the first time I made the awareness, the connotation, the connection between feeling and addiction. I was like, oh, wow, holy fuck. Because I felt so much freer on the other side of that release. I was like, holy shit, I feel light. I feel free. I feel open. I was like, oh, now I get it. Okay, thanks. It's got nothing to do with the drinking or the drugs. This was my inability to feel and process my emotions.
And that right there leads into the next question, which we've already sort of touched on, but we'll bring it into this anyway. The differentiation between addiction and distraction.
Nothing. They're the same fucking thing.
Hear that, guys. Listen to that over and over again.
Nothing. The stigma attached to the word is the only separation. You all have something. And if you're telling yourself you don't, you're fucking lying. Come and tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, fight me.
Come at me. Slide into my DMs.
Yeah. What are some common misconceptions about addiction that you encounter a lot?
Some common misconceptions that tough love works.
Yeah, right.
Tough love is
you just got to stop doing it.
Yeah, just stop drinking.
Just make the choice.
Stop taking drugs. It's a choice. No, it's not. It's a survival response, and it's actually someone's best attempt to survive. I've said this a million times. If I didn't have alcohol, I would have probably killed myself.
Bro, I've heard this before. I can't remember who said it, but they said have love for the meth that you were taking at that time because it kept you alive.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. Ryan will say it. Matt will say it. But it's also kind of their only experience. It's difficult for people to really understand that if you haven't been in it.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of people will see this like, why can't you just fucking stop? And I'm going to like try to like hate this motherfucker into change.
Shame.
You can't hate that motherfucker more than they already hate themselves.
Yeah, bro.
Sorry, but you can't.
Do you find a lot of people who are struggling with distractions, addictions, they're quite avoidant?
Yeah. Definitely. Avoidant in what sense?
So it might be like you start the work and then it's like, oh fuck, this is too much, and then they just ghost you and they stop.
Oh, dude, 1,000%. Yeah, I get it a lot in group programs. So I'll start with 40 people in the group, and then by the end, there's like maybe 10 people showing up.
And you can't do anything with it, right? You can't force them to fucking show up.
100%. But yeah, it's like, how much more can you meet them with a bit more love and understanding and compassion, and tell them that, hey, I'm here when you're ready, and you don't need all the answers.
No.
But find a few people in your world that does have a few answers, and just let them know that you're available if and when they are ready.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. What role or how important does shadow work play in this process of helping people with addictions and things like this?
Yeah, I mean, shadow work is, I think it has, I've got a few things to say on shadow work. I think, again, shadow work's a term that's thrown around quite loosely. I think
it's just another buzzword, right?
A little bit, yeah. I think at its deepest core, trauma work is shadow work.
Yeah.
There is no difference. I think where it can get dangerous is when people are just making people aware of their shadows and not giving them any tools or processes or practices to do anything about it.
Yep.
So if you're just making someone aware of a thing or a behavior, you're actually going to make them more crazy and more frustrated and more pissed off. And potentially create a lot more discord within their system if you're not helping them to do anything with the self-awareness.
Like give the solution, a bit of solution at the end. I
It's
love
like
that.
someone going, like, I'm showing you how much of a people pleaser you are, but I'm not giving you anything to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, now, great, awesome. Now I'm fucking just really aware of all of my shit, even more than I already was. And I feel like more of a piece of shit.
Yeah, and I'll call myself out on that, bro. Where I've recently really someone said that to me, and I was like, "Fuck, you're right." Like, I really need to start putting in there, give them their allowance to do it themselves first. And if they start on it and then they want to go a bit deeper, then like, hey, Trav, I'd love to, come work on this a little bit more. So, yeah, bro, thank you for bringing that up. I love that. Can you describe a really powerful transformation that's happened recently with a client?
Ooh, a powerful recent transformation. Fuck.
There's probably too many to choose from.
Oh man, there's a ton. There's so many celebrations with so many different clients. What's something more recently? I think, look, I mean, I just had a male client of mine recently, really connected to his feelings, connected to his emotions, caught himself in the moment, and realized that there was anger there in his relationship, and that anger wasn't her at all, that his partner was just mirroring his fucking mum, and that he got to go and move that and process that and came back, and as a result of so much of the work that we've been doing, they've been together like fucking 10 years and their relationship's closer than ever. Like that stuff I fucking love. That stuff I think is so cool. It's so dope that these people have been together from like 20 years old, and they're like, it's just getting better.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool. I had another client recently realize she's a chick. She's a PT, but also really into her breath work, and realizing just what she's actually just fucking capable of, what she wants to be doing in the world, like that ownership of truth, to the point where she's like fucked off her PT job and creating spaces for breath work and things like that, man.
That's cool.
They can seem really fucking small, but in this grand scheme of things, like they're fucking huge. They're massive.
Oh, I get everyone to celebrate all their little wins, bro.
Oh, 100%.
They compound really fucking quickly.
Markers of growth is what I call them. So,
hell yeah.
Yeah, there's just a few things off the top of my head.
Thank you, bro. What are some signs that someone might be enabling an addict, and how can they shift their behavior to support healthier recovery?
What are some signs that someone's enabling an addict that you want them to change more than you're willing to look at your own shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
for anything, right?
Dude, if I'm being a bit of a savage, I obviously get a lot of partners of reaching out to me, or family members of, and they'll reach out saying, hey, my wife or my husband or brother or sister or whatever has an active addiction, and I can't get them to stop. I can't get them to change. So I'll say, look, number one, if I feel like they're not super receptive, I'll just say, look, you can't help someone that doesn't want to help themselves, full stop. That's the first thing. Then what I'll say, what you can do is one of two things. Number one, go and educate yourself properly on addiction. Like, go and listen to some of my podcasts, go and actually learn the depths of addiction, what actually addiction is, so that you can understand this person, have a little bit more compassion. Also, a reminder to anyone listening, compassion doesn't excuse behavior. It just allows for space of understanding their behavior. It doesn't mean you need to put up with it. And thirdly, if I feel it, I'll ask them, or I'll challenge them around what is the role that they're playing in this person's addiction. Where do they fit in? How much, or how important is it for them to feel as if they need to rescue this person, to fix this person, to help this person, to save this person, to be the martyr, to fall on their own fucking sword for this person? And often what you'll find is in particularly a relationship like that, you'll find an addict always with a rescuer. It's the perfect fucking
Ultimate
trauma
combo.
bond.
Yeah.
It's the perfect trauma bond.
Wow.
And so then what I'll say is like, what you can do is you can go and work on you because you're addicted to them. Hate to tell you, but you are in a codependent relationship.
You love saving them.
And your addiction is codependency. So yeah, that's a bit tough for some people to swallow, and it's not usually what they want to hear.
That's what they need to hear, right?
Yeah, and some people are open to it and receptive, and some people tell you to go and get fucked.
Yep.
That's okay.
We started working with someone recently who he's working with us, so Christy and myself, to do like go through like some different sort of work before they start with a business coach, which I find is really smart with his business coach to be able to do the emotional work with us and be held in that for him to then step into his power, right?
Yeah.
And he said, I know I'm here because what they said to me really pissed me off. And I went away for a couple of days. And then I realized I really liked them and loved them because they told me what I didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
It was the catalyst for them to actually now start that true journey.
And that takes a willingness to have some level of introspection, some part of you that wants to take some kind of responsibility.
Bro. Yeah.
100%. And then a lot of people are like, a full fucking no to that. But yeah, usually, that trigger, this is said so many times in so many spaces, it's like that trigger is often, sometimes someone is just a dick or a cunt.
Yeah.
But often that trigger or that reaction in your body as a response to what someone said is that's the what do I always call it? That's the I'm mind blanking. It's like that's the entry point.
Yep.
That's the entry point to your own healing.
Yeah, beautiful. One last question. How can people start to identify these unconscious patterns that are playing out that are causing the distractions or addictions?
How can someone start to identify? I mean, I would say most people are already quite fucking privy to the
aware
obvious
of it.
ones.
Yeah. Maybe the ones that might not be deemed as, it might not be alcohol or anything like that. It might be the savior complex that's happening.
Yeah, I guess it's just like, what behaviors are showing up in your life that are, that at some point in time, really was filling you up and really was creating, a feeling of fulfilledness within yourself, even though it was external to you. It's probably got to a point where it's actually taking more than it was once giving. You feel drained. You feel unfulfilled. You feel frustrated. You feel pissed off. You feel angry. You feel, what these, I guess you would call, what some people would call negative. I would prefer to call ineffective emotions or less desirable emotions towards a particular way in which you've shown up for a really long time. That's a pretty good indicator that, that the body's done. You're done.
Yep.
That
it's time.
That what was once a productive and effective coping strategy isn't anymore. And that's the piece that's also going to be your biggest gift, because it's going to be, again, like I said, your entry point into your own healing.
Yeah, fuck. Thank you, bro. Yeah. A question that I'm going to start bringing in now. What's something the listener can start doing to help rewire the mind, body, soul of our culture?
Oh, that's a deep question, bro. The first thing that's coming through is just slow the fuck down. Slow down. Find ways that work for you to slow down.
Yeah.
Meditation for some people is the most traumatizing experience that you could possibly ask somebody to partake in. I would not suggest that meditation is the be all and end all. Find what works for you that helps you to slow down. There's many, many, many different forms of stillness or slowness, but find a way to start to implement some kind of a practice in your life that just allows you to create a little bit of time, even if it's fucking 30 seconds to start with, even if it's a minute to start with, of you to just be with you. That practice that I guided, halfway through this potty, like, honestly, you don't even need to do the resourcing part. Just put your legs up over a couch, over a chair. Do that it's a study. The reason I use that so much is there's a study where a guy in LA wanted to figure out the fastest way to move from sympathetic to parasympathetic. And he did everything, all the different modalities, acupuncture, massage, all these things, like fucking meditation, yoga, all this shit. He found the fastest way to move your body into that place of stillness, of rest, was to lie with your back on the fucking floor and put your legs up over a chair or the couch. And there's a theory that if you do that at the same time, roughly the same time every day, not exactly the same time every day, for 15 minutes a day, maybe it's 30 minutes a day, do it for 30, start with 15, and do that for 2 weeks. It's like an ultimate reboot, complete nervous system.
And just lay there like eyes closed, or looking at the ceiling?
Nah, fuck no. I mean, you can. If you can, dope. Like, if you can't, if you need to scroll while you're doing it.
Cool. I was scrolling the other day.
Yeah, 100%. Watch a tally while you do it.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. If you can sit there in stillness, amazing. Most people wouldn't be able to do that off
Not
the
these
bat.
days, bro.
But if you can just lie in that position while you watch fucking Grey's Anatomy, I don't give a shit.
Your body just does its thing.
The body will innately do its thing.
Yep.
And after 2 weeks, you'll be like, oh, wow, I'm actually a bit more of a grounded human being.
Right angle laying, guys.
And
game changer.
A little bit more stillness and slowness.
Yeah, go on.
That.
Beautiful. Thank you, bro. Thank you for listening, guys. I'm sure you took a lot from this. Please feel free to share this to whoever you can. Get this out to everyone. Drew and I can only do so much as people ourselves. This is with you guys that are listeners. Share it with your friends. Repost it, tag us, put us in there. Reach out to us. Reach out to Drew. Have those conversations, because that may start you on your journey. We might not be the coaches for you, but we might be the catalyst for you to begin your own journey. And that's all I want from my guests, the stories we teach or tell. I just want anyone to just start their journey, man. I know what it's done for me, Drew. You can hear what it's done for Drew. We just want you to be happy, fulfilled, empowered humans who get to be the raw to the core version of you, because the world took that away from you, and it's time to take it back. Let's go.
Hey, I like that. Raw to the core, baby. And thank you, bro. Thank you for having this platform, man. It's incredible that, I just really admire anyone that has the consistency and devotion and dedication to continuously show up in a space like this and give other people, I guess, a space and a platform just to talk and to share. And, so just deep appreciation for you, bro.
Thank you, brother. Yeah. I received that. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Koan.